Good evening and welcome to Altos, your weekly Catholic news program here on Trinity TV and now showing on the national television station TTT Limited. I'm Neil Parsonlal. Here's a look at this week's top stories. The people in St. Lucia pay tribute to their beloved Cardinal, Felix. We have a report on his funeral mass in Castries. The Catholic community in Gonzales lays to rest one of its most promising sons. Internationally, Pope Francis offers some timely advice to clergy on preaching homilies. And later, we'll have in studio Father Peter McIsaac, the Archdiocesan Director for Synodal Transformation. He'll give us an update on the Leadership Conference carded for next week. And now for our top story. The first Cardinal from the Antilles will be interred after Memorial Mass at the Cathedral Chapel in Rosso Dominica on Wednesday, June 19th. Last Wednesday in Castries, St. Lucia, a massive Christian burial was held. Catholic News editor Raymond Sims was in St. Lucia and witnessed the solemn ceremony.
The minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception in downtown Castries was comfortably filled for Cardinal Felix's funeral. Streets around the cathedral, where he once presided as Archbishop for 27 years, were closed off to vehicular traffic. The front pews were occupied by state and government officials, the diplomatic corps, and heads of the various arms of security. They joined family, local and foreign clergy, religious and laity for the liturgy, which began with the Office of the Dead. Bishops from the English, Dutch, and French-speaking Caribbean territories concelebrated the Mass. Also present was Cardinal Felix's immediate successor, now retired Archbishop Robert Rivas. In his homily, current Archbishop Gabriel Malzer said many had gathered to pay their respects to a father, a brother, an uncle, a friend, a mentor, a confidant, whose entire life was in search of the beatific vision.
The numerous tributes, accolades, and expressions of thanks which have been addressed towards our beloved man of God during these past few days, including those from the Holy Father, Francis, the prefect of the Dicastery for Evangelization of Peoples, Luis Antonio Cardinal Tagle, the Vatican Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, and the many others locally, regionally, and internationally, undoubtedly give testimony not only to the impact that he made on the lives of many, but also the challenge he poses to all of us who seek the Christian way of life, the life of the Beatitudes.
The Archbishop described Cardinal Felix as one of the humblest persons he knew, and that after retiring to Dominica in 2008 as a parish priest, he wanted to be known by one name.
He wanted to be known as Father Felix. And even with all the titles he had amassed, he returned to being a simple parish priest under the direction of one who was his son and who, figuratively speaking, had become his father. He was a very humble and obedient son. Yes, he was the sweetest man to be called father.
The Archbishop ended saying Cardinal Felix had left a legacy of faith, love, and service. The casket bearing Kelvin Edward Cardinal Felix was taken by police in dress uniform to the hearse and then through the streets of Castries with sections lined by children from Catholic schools.
I am Raymond Sims reporting for Catholic News Altos from Castries.
On Monday, the funeral of Jaden Re, who was murdered in the brazen attack at the Port of Spain General Hospital, was held at the St. Martin de Porres Church in Belmont. The 21-year-old was a third-year medical student and former student of St. Mary's College. His friends paid a very teary tribute to Jaden.
To my Lord, 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 to my Lord's house, I'm coming on my way to...
I stand here before you today with a heavy yet grateful heart to pay tribute to a soul that was a blessing in the life of every person he crossed paths with. My name is Jarrell, and Jaden was not just my friend, but my brother, a leader, a therapist, a mentor.
I love you, Jaden, our friend, our brother, and our blood. Thank you.
He was also so supportive, my biggest cheerleader. Anytime I felt demotivated about school, there he was in my corner supporting me.
We cannot help but call to mind one of the shortest verses in all of Scripture. The verse that says that Jesus wept. That Jesus wept when his friend Lazarus died. God knows. God knows. God knows.
And in some school news, students of St. Anthony's College in West Moorings were treated to a morning of interactive fun, prizes and education on Wednesday, June 5th, courtesy of the United Nations Development Programme. The Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Public Awareness and Education campaign was held in commemoration of World Environment Day, the aim of which is to bring awareness about the importance of living in harmony with our natural environment and protecting our planet. St. Anthony's College is one of 2 secondary schools nationally to partner with the UNDP, whose representatives on the day shared information about its most recent energy project, provided practical advice, career options within the sector, and held demonstrations on renewable energy sources for the home and country at large. UNDP's consulting engineer Curtis Boudou said their aim is to promote renewable energy and show the young men in Trinidad and Tobago that they can be employed in these new fields related to renewable energy, like solar installation and wind energy. The Public Awareness and Education campaign was also held in collaboration with the Global Climate Change Alliance Plus initiative, the European Union, and the Ministry of Planning and Environment. 23-year-old Shireen Goodrich has returned from her trip to Rome, where she attended the International Youth Ministry Congress from May 22nd to 26th. Hailing from St. Paul's Parish in Couva, the youth delegate shares more on her experience in Rome.
Hi everyone. 3 weeks ago, I had the incredible honor of representing the Antilles Episcopal Conference at the International Youth Ministry Congress in the heart of Rome, Italy. Thank you for your continuous prayers, support, and well wishes during this time. I hope to continue working together in keeping our church alive and youthful. This conference emphasized the vital role the youth play in making the church vibrant and full of life. It's up to us to get involved, to be active missionary disciples within our parishes and our communities. While I gained so much knowledge from this incredible experience, I also formed special bonds. And most memorably, I had the chance to meet the Holy Father. For this, I am eternally grateful. Let's rise up and do what is needed. Say hello.
Hello.
An unforgettable experience, I'm sure. We continue to pray for our youth and our youth in ministry. And now we take you to Tortuga, where the annual Afternoon Tea with Our Lady event brought together over 200 patrons for a day of devotion, celebration, and tradition. The event began with Marian devotions and Holy Mass, followed by a delightful tea at the scenic Tortuga Presbytery grounds. The chief celebrant of the Mass was Archbishop Emeritus Robert Rivas, joined by parish priest Father Shijo Zacharias. A highlight of this year's celebration was the offertory procession, featuring 4 young girls, each dressed as a different manifestation of the Blessed Mother. These miniature Marys included Our Lady of Fatima, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Our Lady of the Rosary, and Our Lady of Guadalupe. Among the attendees was the Minister of Trade and Industry, Paula Gopi-Schoon, who received a special gift from Father Abraham on behalf of the parish. Pope Francis has reiterated that men with homosexual tendencies should not become priests if they are unable to be celibate. In the third and last meeting with priests in the Diocese of Rome, the pontiff was warmly greeted at the Salesian Pontifical University. Rome Reports has more on what the pontiff said to clergy.
Pope Francis again cautioned that it is better not to admit those with homosexual tendencies into the priesthood who are incapable of practicing celibacy. Addressing the problems of the diocese, he focused on social needs and suggested that parishes that have empty buildings should try to take in people in need. He also criticized the large amounts of money that today is used for weapon manufacturing, contraceptives, cosmetic surgery, or veterinarians, especially when there are so many needy people on the streets. Lastly, Pope Francis said political involvement is a form of charity and condemned the low voter turnout in the European elections.
And staying with the Holy Father, are you bored during homilies or find yourself falling asleep? Well, Pope Francis has the remedy. In his weekly catechesis in St. Peter's Square, the pontiff advised priests to keep homilies short, so stay awake. Rome Reports has more in this story.
Reading of the scriptures during Mass is where the Holy Spirit can speak to hearts. He then emphasized the importance of an effective and short homily to supplement the teachings from the Bible.
Ma l'omelia per questo deve essere breve. Un'immagine, un pensiero e un sentimento. L'omelia non deve andare oltre gli 8 minuti. Perché dopo quel tempo si perde la tensione e la gente si dorme, si addormenta e ha ragione. Un'omelia deve essere così, e questo voglio dire ai preti che parlano tanto, tante volte e non si capisce di che cosa parlano.
Pope Francis also said that the homily should convey something that leads to a purpose or a concrete action.
And before you fall asleep, it's now time for us to take a short break. When we return, we speak with Father Peter McIsaac, the Archdiocesan Director for Synodal Transformation, to discuss the Church's upcoming leadership conference. But before we go, have a look at this week's trivia question. Thanks very much for staying with us. Leadership in and of any organization is always a challenging experience. The Church, with its multiplicity of ministries, diversity of membership, and a 2,000-year-old hierarchy, presents its own unique challenges. On Labor Day next week, the Archdiocese will host its own leadership conference, and together with Archbishop Gordon, Father Peter McIsaac will lead the discussions. Father Peter, welcome to the set of Altos.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. Tell us a little bit more about this leadership conference, and what does the Archdiocese hope to get from this conference?
So the leadership conference is an important sort of element of a much broader process in the Archdiocese. It's focused on formation, and my primary role as the director of Synodal Transformation is really spiritual formation. So this provides a very good opportunity for us to gather, and we've done so for a number of years, gather together 600 people and get them to participate in a conversation in the Spirit, to engage in a conversation about what is needed at the parish level, what it is that the people want in terms of formation, theological formation, spiritual formation, all of human formation, all of them. So it's an important moment for us to come together. Different elements. Credi is really the one who is organizing the event. They've done a fantastic job. An element of skits, discussion, some input by Father Matthew Ragbeer, and then a conversation in the Spirit, which I will facilitate for the 600 who are present.
Okay. The Pope Francis has demonstrated a leadership style that puts the more human, more personal, more charitable dimension, some people argue, ahead of the institutional model. Is that the model of church we're looking for in Trinidad and Tobago? What is the model of leadership that we're looking for?
Yeah, it's a complicated question. I would like to preface it by saying that I think that what Pope Francis is doing is in great continuity with all of his predecessors. From the moment of Vatican Council II, the emphasis was on the full and active participation of all of the baptized. That means that over the years we have been trying to find ways to get people more involved in liturgy, get them involved in ministries, get them involved in community. And now we're looking at the structures of decision making. How is it that we make decisions in the church? It's not really a dislocation, if you like, of the institutional structure. It's more an invitation for our leadership to be much more discerning. Where do we find the Spirit in the community? And how does the leader of the community, whether it's a priest or deacon or lay leader, how do they respond to the pastoral need? In that regard, I think that Pope Francis is a wonderful model. He's somebody who listens very carefully. He's somebody who listens to all voices and tries to discern what it is that the Spirit is leading us to. He does have a very rootsy sort of way about him. He's very gentle. He's very compassionate. He's very pastoral. And I think that this is a helpful model for us. We have been discussing servant leadership for a long time, missionary discipleship. All of these elements are part of this move, if you like, towards a much greater discerning community.
Discerning. And that's important. I think in terms of and we speak of formation. In the formation of our seminarians, are we forming future priests, pastors, or leaders, or a combination of all three?
I think that the formation program at the seminary is very good. It's balanced. It has a number of different elements which are important. I think that they get very good spiritual formation. That opens them to an intimate relationship with God, which then kind of leads them to understand who they are in relationship both to God as well as to the people of God. I think in some ways the focus is on teaching them and giving them the skills that they need in order to be good pastoral leaders, those who listen, who help to discern, who are engaged in their ministries in a very compassionate way. So I'm living at the seminary at the moment. I am most impressed by the guys that are coming through, and by the leadership, both of the Archbishop, but also the Rector and Monsignor Cuthbert.
Excellent. Yeah. How do we transfer the synodal experience that we've just gone through, that entire exercise, to the leadership at the level of the parish? And let me put you on the spot. The leadership of the level of the parish, where sometimes the words and the decision of the parish priests are often viewed as infallible.
Yeah, it's really a question of balance. So we have asked priests and clergy and lay people at times to exercise pastoral leadership. In the exercise of pastoral leadership, there are different styles, and that largely that can be cultural, it can be personality. But what we would hope is that regardless of who the priest is and who the pastoral leader is that our way of proceeding would always be one that is sensitive to the Spirit that moves sometimes in unexpected ways within unexpected people. That's the purpose of our conversation in the Spirit, is really to listen carefully. Are there prophetic voices which are speaking to us at this time? And is it important for my own leadership as a pastor? Am I able to integrate and get people to participate in the processes of decision making?
You mentioned servant leadership earlier, and that's one of the, if we look at the model of Christ,
yeah,
a model of servant leadership. And in any kind of organization, you will have multiple, as you indicated, multiple styles of leadership. How do we get our not just the Catholic Church, what do we as church say to the wider community, the wider national community, about that need for us to push for a greater sense of servant leadership?
Yeah, it's crucial, and I think that this is the way in which we are prophetic as a church. If we adopt the norms of society and its models of leadership, the church will find itself in a very difficult place. If, however, we can be a leaven in society and provide examples and models of leadership which are more humane, more respectful of the dignity of every person. If we can manage to be that model for society, I think it's important. I think Jesus understood that. He wanted to warn his disciples against a style of leadership that was destructive, but he also wanted them to be leaven in the wider society.
But as church, how do we as church then counter, so to speak, a prevailing position or perception that we as church have done so much wrong? Who are we?
That's right.
To attempt to want to say to people that this is how you must lead.
I think that in some ways the church over the years, and certainly this has been made very public, the church has had to face some of its own weakness and its own sinfulness. But it makes us more aware of our need for healing and reconciliation, both within our churches as well as in our relationships with society. How can we be a church that is a model for society? How can we be a just governance system within the church which respects the dignity of every person and listens carefully to their voice? A key theological premise of the synodal process is that the Spirit of God is active in every baptized member. But a lot of our members, and I think a little bit of this is going to come out in the leadership conference, a lot of our members have been wounded by the past and by our styles of leadership. It's something that I think that we've been looking at, and I think Pope Francis has provided enormously effective examples of the way in which he humbles himself to bring about reconciliation and healing in our church.
Thanks for that. Tell us what is going to happen on Wednesday.
On Wednesday we come together. We are going to have a few skits. Basically, they are to reveal some of our tendencies in church. It's to get us a visual of what goes on in our church and to get a reaction from people. Is this the way our church is, or is this the way we want our church to be? And then they have a discussion in their groups. Afterwards, there'll be a panel discussion. A number of panelists, there'll be 4, I believe. And each one will address formation in the church, but also give personal testimony about their own faith journey, the way in which they have grown in the faith, and the way in which their own need for reconciliation and healing has been important as part of the process. After lunch, we go to our conversation in the Spirit, and we will be looking at some of the dimensions of our life as a church, and the kind of mission, the revitalization of ministries that we are all seeking. So,
what then are the next steps after Wednesday?
I think that it gives those who are engaged in formation issues, it gives them a sense of what is needed. From my point of view, it's another way that we have exercised our kind of the core of our life in the Spirit, and that is listening and speaking to one another with a view to discerning the Spirit. So the next steps would be maybe some concrete formative programs, but also generally just a greater appreciation of our identity and mission as church.
Good. Father, thanks very much for joining with us.
Most welcome.
We will be with you on Wednesday.
Wonderful.
At the conference.
Great.
It's good seeing you.
Thank you very much.
We'll meet again. Thanks very much for staying with us. We take a short break. We'll be right back.
We are taking a leap of faith on Trinity TV. Jump in with us for this new and exciting experience.
Thanks very much for staying with us. We have quite a few of our clergy celebrating their anniversaries this week. See if your parish priest is amongst the lot. here's a look at some upcoming events in the Archdiocese this week. Catholic News Associate Editor Simone DeLochan gives us a preview of what's in store this week.
In this week's issue of the Catholic News, Matthew Wolford shares his musical memories of his dad, and Justice Gafour examines the Church's teachings on the rights of workers. I am Simone DeLochan, Associate Editor of the Catholic News.
And that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Altos. A reminder that you can send your correspondence to us at altos@catholictt.org. Just as we ended it with a tribute for Mother's Day on our May 10th episode, today we pay equal tribute to our fathers, biological and otherwise, as we celebrate Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all. Do have a wonderful week, everyone. Stay dry and be safe. And see you next week, please God.
Only a dad with a brood of 4, one of 10 million men or more, plodding along in the daily strife, bearing the whips and the scorns of life, with never a whimper of pain or heat, for the sake of those who at home await. Only a dad, neither rich nor proud, merely one of the surging crowd, toiling, striving from day to day, facing whatever may come his way, silent whenever the harsh condemn, and bearing it all for the love of them. Only a dad, but he gives his all to smooth the way for his children's mourn, doing with courage, still and grim, the deeds that his father did for him. This is the line that I pen, for him I pen, only a dad, but the best of men.